Hello and welcome back to another Warhammer 3 video we have for you today. We just got the blog post for Sayl the Faithless, detailing his start position, new units and mechanics, as well as his Lord select screen and start an army. But before we get into that, let's check out his start position, and that'd be the brand new province of Mountain's Edge, nearby the settlement of Dark Tower. I think it's a decent location, but I am curious myself how his campaign will play out from there since there's so many other chaos factions already. Hopefully in the future they'll open up Ending Koresh since Cathay itself is a bit crowded. Then we have his starter army and faction effects. His army is pretty good, having 3 Bearmen of Ursula, 1 with heavy weapons, then 2 normal marauders, 2 Kurgan horsemen, and to my surprise a Curse Etten rune caller, which I would have thought he would have had a normal Curse Etten, but I'm okay with it. I'm a big fan of having a 1 strong unit in the beginning of your campaign. On to his faction effects, he has the ability to enact manipulations to undermine others, affecting their settlements, armies, or their entire faction, or to strengthen your own forces. Lord and Hero recruit rank, +2 for Shaman Sorcerers. Winds of Magic Power Reserve capacity, +10 for all armies. Weapon Strength, +20 for Kurgan Horseman units, all armies. I haven't got into his unique mechanics just yet, but I like that it seems like he's the Schemer type magic type, especially when he boosts magic for all armies. And the Kurgan Horseman, which is kind of nice since we don't really have a lot of fast moving units in the roster of Norscan. Then his Lord effects, Spell Intensity +10%, Miscast Base Chance -25%, enables poison attacks for Kurgan Horseman units, and ability Nightmaw. Sadly, Nightmaw is not a summon like Corel, he's just a wind spell, a pretty strong spell at that, but maybe in the future with enough feedback, CA will just make him a summon. Overall, I like his effects in starting army. I also did not expect a 20% weapon strength for the Kurgan Horseman, all while having poison. Sounds like a pretty fun doom stack while Sayl's just throwing spells. Now we can dive into his actual mechanics, which he has 2 of. One is the Dark Ritual that will grant Sayl more power over time as you build enough Chaos Altars on the sites you've conquered settlements on to enact your final ritual itself. Very similar to Aslan, where your campaign has progression and an end goal, with strong rewards, and gives your Immortal Empires campaign a bit more of a story than just take settlements. Unlike other Norscan factions, who erect such altars and dedicate them to any of the ruinous powers, Sayl's altars represent Chaos Undivided. Spreading its corruption in regions where you erect them, they function as a limited settlements with most reduced slot count, which also contribute to your income, research rate, control, and a host of other factors. But their most important function is to fuel Sayl's Dark Ritual. Altars are optional, of course. You may wish to pillage, occupy, or raise settlements instead of erecting one. However, they're crucial to both Sayl's campaign progress and unlocking new manipulations. So it's a case of balancing their construction against your wider campaign needs. You may have noticed a trend with all 3 new legendary lords mechanics, and they all involve a new type of settlement, which I actually think is a good thing. I was kind of curious because after I saw Dekala, I was like, I guess the first 2 have like their own unique settlements, and then now that I'm seeing Sayls, I think it's a good thing. I kind of hope they do it more in the future, just trying to give, every faction kind of their own different way of playing on the campaign map. Your Dark Ritual progress is tracked in the UI and moves through 4 stages: the Whispering, the Binding, the Unveiling, and the Ascension. As you raise altars and cross threshold from one stage to the next, you'll attract the attention of forces of order, namely the Empire, the High Elves, and the Lizardmen. To reap the benefits of moving to a new stage, you'll need to tackle a quest battle and defeat forces belonging to one of these factions. Which leads us to our next mechanic, Manipulations. It has 4 tiers, and each tier as you get higher gets stronger, and is very similar to the changing of ways from Tzeentch but kind of Norscan flavored. The first target type gives you ways to meddle with friendly and enemy factions. The tier 1 manipulation, Sight Beyond Sights, grants you visibility over regions and settlements belonging to that target faction. As you progress through the tiers, you'll unlock even more powerful tools to influence your factions and how they interact with the world and each other. This first type definitely seems like the most interesting, just because it says you can meddle with friendly and enemy factions, so I'm very curious if you'll be able to boost your friendly factions or just, kind of mess with them like the Changeling does. Next up is the range of manipulations, which enables Sayl to mess with friendly and enemy settlements, harvesting resources from them, causing attrition, and by tier 4, raising them completely. And that last part sounds pretty crazy. Imagine being able to raise any settlement you want. I imagine there'll be some drawbacks to it, like you can only use it like every 10 or 15 turns. But either way, being able to destroy a settlement without even having an army near it is kind of incredible. Of course, Sayl can also manipulate armies, reducing leadership and vigor, stun locking them on the campaign map, damaging them, and triggering mutations which split off half the army to form a hostile rebel force. So like all tier 4 abilities, they seem really strong, but being able to split an enemy army in half and that half become a hostile rebel army sounds like one of the best out of the 4, since it could greatly slow down any enemy forces that are like taking all your settlements. Sayl can also target his own armies for manipulation, enable them to instantly complete 1 turn of any global and local recruitment, summon armies for battle support, or sacrifice a marauder unit to summon a greater demon in their place. And this last one I'll probably use the most because you can summon armies for battle support, or just simply, like I said, sacrifice a marauder unit for a greater demon, which I imagine you'll get to choose, or it might be random depending on how much corruption's around the area. Either way, they all seem pretty good, and you can't really go wrong with picking any of them at the time. Each successful tier in manipulations is linked to your dark ritual progress, and can only be unlocked by defeating the force of order corresponding to your current stage. Using manipulations though carries a risk of drawing attention of chaos worshippers, who watch his Sayl's progress closely. Provoking them into action will present a significant dilemma, so choose wisely. That does sound interesting with him being the big betrayer and all. It's cool that Chaos might turn on him if he gets too close to his end goal, although they'll just give him an option to where if he doesn't do it, they'll just give him a bunch of rewards and maybe some free demons to add to his army. And then the rest of the blog is going to be going over the new units. I know a lot of people have seen them already in other gameplay videos, so I'll quickly go over them for anyone who might not know anything about the new units. First up is Sayl himself. He's a shaman sorcerer wielding the lores of shadows and heavens. It comes as no surprise that Sayl's skill tree has a heavy magical focus. One of his most potent abilities is the lingering side effect of the aborted ritual that slew his former master, which imbues his entire army with magical attacks, bonus weapon strength, and spell resistance. Alongside this, there's a host of enhancements across his skills that combine him to make a rapid-fire spellcasting powerhouse. Several of his abilities also unlock extra uses of per battle of his signature ability, Night Maw, which summons his faithful 3-headed spawn to the field to barrel through enemy ranks. So I'm going to imagine Sayl is going to be a mini version of Kairos, so he won't be able to have unlimited magic, but his cooldowns for his spells will be really low. So on top of Sayl already being really strong, he has 3 good mounts, 1 Warhorse, Marauder Chariot, and the War Shrine War Mammoth. So him being a spellcaster is already strong enough. Now you throw him on a War Shrine Mammoth, now you can do the front lines and he can cast spells. Then we have the Great Shaman Sorcerer, the new lore type, and they can be recruited as practitioners of Lore's Fire, Death, or Metal. They share the same mount options as Sayl, and for spellcasters they're surprisingly handy in a scrap. This is largely down to their offering to the god skills, which sacrifices friendly entities to drive up the Shaman Sorcerer into a battle frenzy, granting significant bonuses to his melee attack and leadership plus his basic armor-piercing weapon damage. They do sound pretty good. I was worried that they were going to be another generic mage caster, but I think it's cool that they have an ability to sacrifice entities in their army to gain melee attack and leadership. So if you ever have like them retreating, you can kind of use that to help them out, or if they're on their war mammoth, to throw them right in the front lines like you would with Sayl. Then the legendary hero is Beorg, a shining example of what happens when you really impress the ruinous powers. His body is twisted into a truly bestial form. Beorg is a werebear of unparalleled strength and ferocity. After you've raided a certain amount of gold from the factions around you, you'll impress Beorg enough for him to nail his colors to Sayl's mask and arrive on scene looking for some action. Also, the new Bearman units can get really boosted by Beorg with Vanguard deployment, Frenzy, Fear, and Warcry, as well as reduced upkeep, plus enhanced charge bonus and melee defense stats. They'll occupy a mid-tier melee role between Marauders and Marauder champions. As for himself, Beorg can power up with a range of melee bonuses granted by his skills until he becomes one of your most valuable melee units in your army. The cherry on the cake is his Thrill of Battle skill, which replenishes 15% of your army's action points after winning a battle. That sounds pretty good. It mainly sounds like on top of being a very strong unit, he'll be buffing your units as well. Then we have the Fimir Noble, strong and versatile. Fimir Nobles are melee experts who play well with other Fimir. Through their unique skill line, they can unlock a range of bonuses for any Fimir they fight, including stock, combat buffs, and armor. They can also be focused on 3 distinct directions: raiding, pillaging, and all-out damage dealing, or furthermore, buffing more Fimir. The Fimir Noble seems pretty good. It just seems kind of odd that this DLC has no other Fimir at all, considering this guy, is centered around boosting them. Then we have the Marauder Bearmen, who are a complete upgrade compared to the normal Marauders. Having a sword and shield with heavy weapon variant, also cost effective for your army, and pairs really well with the new legendary hero, Beorg Bearstruck. And now we're on to the Cursed Etten. They're in similar size and physical strength to giants, but harbor 2 distinct personalities which both constantly wrestle for dominance. When above 50% hit points, the Etten's Betrayer personality dominates, granting bonus speed, faster charges, plus the glorious charge and unyielding assault. If its hit points fall below 50%, its Savage personality takes over, increasing its base and armor-piercing weapon damage, though its savagery does lower its melee defense rating just by a little. And then we have the Rune Collar. It differs from its non-magical sibling by fielding several bound spells, making it a chunky old spellcaster. When at above 50% hit points, the Rune Collar Betrayer personality dominates, nullifying all magical weapons within 20 meters. If it falls below 50% health, the Savage personality seizes control, regenerating the Etten's health and restoring its strength, keeping it in the fight and allowing it to unleash more spells. Then we have the new flying unit for Norscan, the Chimera. It's a triple-headed monstrosity that is a combat powerhouse. It has fire, poisonous, and magical damage, plus with its 6 eyes, it's on the lookout for danger, so it's immune to flanking, great for taking out any enemy or even a backline. And now we're on to the most unique unit out of the whole new roster, the Dreadmaw, a giant serpent-like creature that can avoid damage by going underground and sneaking up on any enemy. If the enemy has a flying unit though, the Dreadmaw has a range attack that can shoot poison, as well as go past walls in a siege, but it can still be targeted by all target spells, and if it does rout, it will leave the battlefield for good. So it's pretty strong, but is also pretty balanced at the same time. I'm pretty interested how this will work in sieges, especially when you capture points. Then the last unit is the Kurgan Horsemen. They excel at engagements against infantry, deploying near the enemy lines and charging unexpectedly at a forested terrain. The dual weapon wielding riders are especially dangerous against the run-of-the-mill foot soldiers, while the Kurgan's brandishing great weapons can effectively deal with armored infantry as long as their morale is high and they're allowed to take their time in the thick of battle. Their frenzy and rage abilities make them even deadlier and more durable. They seem pretty good. I recommend running them with Sayl because he gives them 20% weapon strength and poison on top of already what they have. And that's going to wrap up everything from the new blog about Sayl. Tomorrow we have the gameplay showcase and the live stream of Norsca's rework, so stay tuned for that and like and subscribe. It really does help out the channel. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next time.